All right, well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kadari Taylor-Watson, and I am the inaugural DEI Director at U.S. Figure Skating. I'm so happy to be here. I feel so fortunate to continue these community conversations that were already established in the Columbus area, especially with the Lincoln Theater, and to delve into the nuanced world of figure skating this afternoon. And we're going to talk about some, varying perspectives and be in dialogue about where we've been, where we are, and where we want to go, as it relates to how do we become a more inclusive and representative sport. So it is truly a pleasure to welcome you to Breaking the Ice, Exploring Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion within the figure skating community. Today you are in for a treat because these panelists are first and foremost amazing people who I've grown to know really quickly and then also have known for a really long time. They also are trailblazers in their areas and leaders within and without and outside of the figure skating community. So the panelists are going to be sharing their diverse experiences, perspectives, and insights on the barriers within U.S. figure skating and within their respective roles. And you should expect for the conversation to span a spectrum of crucial topics within the realm of DEI and encouraging a deeper understanding of the cultural, systemic, and personal dimensions that impact figure skating on varying levels. So as the panelists show and share their point of view, I would like for you to reflect how in your communities you can think about what it means to build a more welcoming and inclusive space and empower people to know that they belong, not just feel like they belong, but to know that they belong. And before we get started, I really would like to acknowledge our partnership with the Greater Columbus Sports Commission, especially Don Stewart, Erica Williams, and team. Jesse, thank you all so much. Of course, I have to acknowledge U.S. Figure Skating, our staff, for being amazing and having this event in Columbus. We're so happy for you all to be here. And of course, I want to extend a heartfelt welcome, my heartfelt gratitude to Susan and Jamal from the Lincoln Theater. First and foremost, we went on an amazing tour of the Lincoln Theater, learned so much about the history, and so I feel very honored to be on this stage here at the Lincoln Theater with the historic achievements that have happened in this building. So thank you all again so much for having us. And then I also want to thank you all for being here. I mean, without you, we would be talking to no one and we wouldn't be having the conversation. So your value is immeasurable, and so we just really appreciate you being here. So before I get into the questions, we thought it would be a good idea, just in terms of getting the nerves out, getting our panelists talking and you all engaged with them, just to have a sort of contest and ask our audience if you could guess which of the fun facts are associated with them. And whoever gets it right gets some free tickets to tonight's event. Sound good? Y'all ready? Okay. Okay, so this is how it's going to go. I have the fun facts. I know what the fun facts are. You don't, right? Unless you know them very well. But I'm going to name a fun fact, and then I'm going to take one person from the audience, and you are going to guess who it is. If you get it right, see me after the panel, and I will give you a ticket to tonight's show. Sound good? Okay. First fun fact. This person had lunch with Prince Charles. And co-owned a salad dressing company. Anybody want to guess which panelist they think it is? And their names are on the programs that you all have. So we have Kendall Troutman, Chantel Stringer, Alex Change, Maya James, Ela Epperson, Sherry Cleveland, and Joel Savory. Anyone want to guess who had lunch with Prince Charles? Okay, so we have one for Joel and one for Sherry. Any last person want to guess? Alex Change. Okay, it looks like no one's getting that first round of tickets because the person who had lunch with Prince Charles and also co-owned a salad dressing company is... Kendall, what did you all eat? What did you and Prince Charles eat?
We Actually, we had fried chicken. We did. He was in South Central LA shortly after the LA riots. I went to Crenshaw High School, and a few students and I started a community garden after the LA riots, and then we met I can't think of Paul Newman, and he helped us develop a salad dressing company. And then Prince Charles did a tour, and he came to our garden and had lunch with us, and it was fantastic.
Well, there you have it. She is the plug for Prince Charles. Okay. All right, so our next fun fact is this person was actually an on-air personality at a Detroit radio station. Any guess? Sherry, some of these people know you. I feel like they knew you already. That is correct. If you don't, who said that? Julia, I think you already have tickets. Nina? Okay. Well, maybe we can gift your tickets, no problem. Okay, so I will do a little bit. I'm going to do one more, and then we'll do some others later. This person lived on a train for 7 years with their family.
True fact. Yeah, true fact. I did. I lived on a train for 7 years. I'm with Disney on Ice, and it's owned by Feld Entertainment, which also owns Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey. And I had a full bathroom, kitchen, living room. My son had a room on the train, and we lived on it for 7 years and traveled the country.
Denise, I think you already have tickets as well, so we'll have to get those tickets. All right, I'm going to keep going so that we can make sure I get to the figure skating part of it. Okay, so this person took down the roof in a William Hung music video. Took down the roof in a music video. Any guess? It is Alex Chang. It is. Alex, can you talk a little bit about that?
So back in the day, I had done some dance, and I was asked to be included in the William Hung. He did like the She Bangs video. He was like, he's not a singer. It was just it's a funny story. And so I was dancing, and they wanted me to do something sort of the green screen and for a cut out. And I said, well, I'll do some skating. I did a double tour, like a jump exercise, and I caught the green screen in my feet, twirled, bam, 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 and the whole back went shoo. And the director like, stop everything! And then they said, oh, we actually love it. We're going to keep it. So they put it in the video.
This is figure skating. This is figure skating for you. Okay, so I'm going to do one more, and then we're going to get started. This person has traveled to 7 countries. Are people in the front, you all disqualified? You know these people too well? Let's hear from somebody else. Anyone know? What do you think? Maya, have you been to 7 countries?
Well, I've actually been to 13.
Well, you told me 7, so it was a trick question. But yeah, so it looks like you all are getting some tickets to come to U.S. Championships this evening. Congratulations. I'll make sure I see you after the panel. All right, so we're going to get started because we have had fun. Everyone's loosened up now, especially me. I'm feeling better. And we're going to get into figure skating. So the first question and the panelist that I'm going to address is Alex. So Alex, well, first of all, thank you for being here. I so appreciate your perspective in the skating community. And when I knew I was doing a panel, I wanted to make sure that you were here. So I appreciate you being here.
Well, thank you.
So the rink for many of our members is the entry point, whether that's through an invitation at a birthday party or their first Learn to Skate class. And how our members feel when they are in the rink is crucial to both recruitment and retention. So as a skating director, how do you actively contribute to creating a welcoming and inclusive environment for everyone who shows up there?
So I think, so first of all, thank you everybody for including me in this conversation. It really is such an honor to be here. So just, again, just my perspective. But I think that, while we're trying to provide accessibility and handle the pipeline of skating development, I, as a skating director, we do a lot of training with our employees. So I think when we talk about the space of DEI, we really want to talk about the possibility of what inclusion could be, what it could bring. Because for some people, they may feel like it's something that they wish they could be a part of, but feel for some reason that they're not part of it. And we don't want that to be. It is for everybody. Inclusion, by very definition, the message itself must be inclusive to be truly inclusive, right? So I think that we do all kinds of training about allyship. We have what we call power plays about customer service, really getting to know the customers and making sure that everybody feels that they belong. And I guess with that, I kind of wanted to say that the company that I get to work for on a daily basis, we own 8 different buildings in Southern California, and the composition, therefore, I think for what it means to be inclusive and diverse is very different in each one. So you don't want to control what that is. You want it to let it be, breathe, and let it be whatever it will be in each community, and that they can go to each facility, and we really encourage them to share. We're one big family, and that's what makes us so strong, is that we get a chance to provide that opportunity for skaters of all backgrounds, adults, children, every background that there is, to be a part of skating. And kind of tangentially, I guess, what I love about skating, and I think this is true of all my employees too, is that it allows us to almost self-define who we're going to be. It really allows, it's work, and I'm not saying it's perfect, and I'm not saying that there won't be confirmation bias and ideas that people have about you before you come in, but you do get to set it straight, like, I'm going to do this today, this is who I'm going to be, and I get to determine my path in that journey. And that's something really quite amazing, I think, in this world, to be able to do that. And we want to share that opportunity with every person that we can, that they get a chance to experience the freedom to create performances, and therefore I think identity or new identities for themselves too. And that's really what I think we try to do, and through our work.
Alex, thank
Can
you.
I speak to that?
Yeah,
Sorry.
please.
Actually, I want to just validate what Alex is saying, because you absolutely do embody that, and I felt that there. When Joel brought Diversify Ice into Lakewood, it was the first time, last year for your skate raising event, it was the first time that my community at large, from the Toyota Sports Performance Center and from LA Kings Iceland at Paramount, came into Lakewood. Mm-hmm. And you felt it. It felt like we belonged there. Even though Joe was having a private event, everyone felt so included, regardless of why we were there, how we were there, the staff, from the entire experience. And so kudos to you for embodying that and creating environments where it can be that inclusive space. So thank you. And thank you, Joe, for having us.
Well, if I just can jump on that as well, I think it was very important for me to, number one, be connected with Alex, who was able to provide this great facility and this welcoming community. But for me, coming into the sport, my experience was very different. I can speak to, and I tell everyone this story, it's in my book, Why Black and Brown Kids Don't Ice Skate. But my very first experience going to a freestyle session, I was accused of essentially stealing the skates that I had brought to the rink. So having that experience could have shunned me away from coming back to figure skating. So, just to be able to create this space for people all over the world, I think is so important. So I'm just so honored to have, such great colleagues like these, as well as the rest of the Diversified's family, including Roheen and Denise and Joey and so many others here. So I think it's so important that we kind of create this community and understand the differences that make us so unique and special in the sport.
No, I think that's all really well said. And it definitely aligns with what we're trying to do at US Figure Skating. So when I started in this role in 2021, I actually was really interested in humanizing DEI. And so people would ask, like, what does that mean? And for me, it meant that we were really focusing on people. I think oftentimes when people hear DEI, they have so many ideas of what that looks like. And for me, it was like, okay, we're talking about the diversity of people in a certain community. We're talking about what people need in terms of equity to be able to perform their best, both on and off the ice. And we're talking about what people need to feel in order to feel welcome and be welcome in spaces. So I think that's completely aligned, is that we want to make sure that when we are interacting with each other, it's from a human humanistic perspective. And I feel like the things that you're doing, Alex, specifically as a skating director, are so important. So thank you for that. And Joel, you mentioned something about maybe everyone's experience not being the best. And so actually, Kendall, I wanted to transfer to you because we have had many conversations about just the experience. I'm also new to the figure skating community. I did not grow up skating, and so had to learn about and how to navigate this community. And Kendall, you're also new to the figure skating community. And sometimes you joke with me and you say, you know, figure skating can be cold. Literally, it's cold. And then figuratively, you talked about it's cold. And so I wonder if you can just share with me, you know, as a parent, you know, what are some of the barriers that you feel like maybe you have faced in the communities that you work with have faced in entering into the figure skating community? And then how have you been able to mitigate those with the strategic partnerships that you've had, and also just your perspective on valuing one of our values, which is also yours, community?
Yes, thank you so much, Kadari. Yes, I used to joke and say I made the mistake of introducing my daughter to the Winter Olympics 2 Olympics ago. I didn't think that when I showed it to her that she would want to pursue figure skating, and I was like, oh my gosh. In my household growing up, the only time the Olympics was mentioned was Nancy and Tanya, right? And it became something that we watched in our community, but outside of that, I was never exposed to that. And I wanted to expose my daughter, and then she fell in love. And we did top 1, top 2 in rental skates, and then she saw synchro. And then, you know, I walk over and I'm like, can I have an application? My daughter wants to do it. It's really expensive. I'm like, yeah, I just want an application. Very expensive. I'm like, okay, give me the application, you know, and it's time consuming. And I'm like, what is happening? I just want an application. Now, in hindsight, it was too expensive. There was 5 of us from my family that had to pay for her to do 1 season of synchro. But that was my initial introduction from learn to skate to possibilities. And it crushed me, and and I was then trying to figure out how to prove to these people that I can find the money to be here because my daughter also deserves to have this. Fast forward, she does we complete the synchro season. Financially, I was in a lot of debt walking away from that. I'm sure a lot of parents can attest to that. And I was like, you can't afford to do synchro anymore. Matter of fact, we're done with this altogether. And I reached out to my rink. This is when George Floyd was brutally murdered in public. And I reached out to my rink. I was like, what can we do? Is there anything? And they were like, let's start, what do you want to do? And I'm like, well, I think it's bigger than me. Let's start a diversity ice skating program. And let's make it be inclusive. And as a program operator, to answer the second half of your question, so I'm thinking, I'm going to teach kids how to skate. I have a ice hockey and a figure skating program. I'm going to teach these kids how to skate. We're going to go into learn to skate. And then I'm faced with barriers. While they're in learn to skate, I realize, why are all these other kids getting better? Oh, because they have private lessons, even at basic 2. And they're like skating before school. And my kids are like, why am I not good? And I'm like, okay, this is bigger than I thought. And now as kids are transitioning out of learn to skate, I'm like, how do I find money? The U.S. figure skating membership money for all of them, because a learn to skate membership is very different from a U.S. figure skating membership in terms of cost. I have 95 figure skaters in my program, 119 hockey players, and 20 that pursue both sports. And as kids are moving through the Learn to Skate pipeline, preparing for what happens next, I'm now realizing, and I spoke with Alex about this briefly, that there are a lot of coaches that they've fallen in love with in Learn to Skate that won't coach them. And it's not because they don't like them, but they're looking for the next Olympian, or they're looking for the next skater they can take to nationals. I'm like, well, what happens to all the kids who just want a coach that they've fallen in love with and learn to skate? So this is now a new barrier outside of keeping kids in skates. And where do I find skates, and how do I find resources? And so it's really beautiful, the work that we get to do alongside U.S. figure skating, and specifically with Kadari, and now with my new friend here, who I'm sure is going to talk, because Chantel and I have been also just brainstorming and just trying to figure out ways. So I'm super long-winded, and I talk like this because I try not to cry. I feel like crying right now because it just gets emotional. Like, I'm still a figure skating mom, and now she's also doing hockey, and now I have 250 kids that are counting on me to make sure that there's room and pathway. And what does that look like? you know.
I just want to add from my perspective. So I grew up, my parents were skaters in the ice show. And so I grew up around that and show skating. I didn't come from a competitive route or even a testing route. So all of these things that I'm hearing about, these barriers, like as coming up from being around shows and in shows, I never experienced any of that. So come to the ice show and and you won't. I think we don't find those barriers because our skaters are not all from the competitive realm. We have a lot, but we also have show skaters or self-taught skaters, and everybody offers something different to us.
And I appreciate, first of all, Kendall, thank you. And you can cry and be vulnerable with us. We're all family here. But one of the things that you mentioned that I think is important for us to touch on is coaching. And so, Joel, I know that you're a coach and you're also the founder of Diversify Ice, and thank you for being here with us today. I'm wondering if you could talk to us about just the importance of coaches understanding that there are diverse journeys in skating and how they're able to share that with the families that are entering to the sport, because not all skaters are going to go in and follow one path. And that's such the beauty of skating. I actually had no idea about how diverse the programming was at figure skating. I think when people hear you as figure skating, you're like, oh, the Olympics. But we have so many programs, like the theater on ice, and we have adaptive skating, and we have Excel programs. Like we have so many things that I think our communities need to know. So I'm just wondering if you could share a little bit about the importance of coaches being able to, one, understand the diverse pathways in skating, but also why it's important to have diverse coaches.
Absolutely. I think that's a great question. So I'll just say I've been very fortunate to have had an incredible coaching journey. I've had great coaches at University of Delaware, from Jeff D, Pam Gregory, Mr. Ron Ludington. They've all been incredible. And I think growing up and training in that facility at the University of Delaware was just so incredible because there were not only coaches that understood the importance of diversity, but there were so many skaters that were from diverse backgrounds as well. I can tell you, going through the journey, transitioning from a skater myself to a coaching my younger brother, and just all the barriers, the financial barriers, but then also the judging biases and all those other things, to be compiled on with hearing, really terrible words from competitors, skaters and their parents, on visible race things in my family and my brother and myself, and to try to navigate that was really, really difficult. So I remember even trying to shelter my brother, always trying to just be around to make sure that no one's going to say anything negative directly to his face before he competes. And sharing that with my coaches and sharing that with the coaching team that, this happened. This one parent may have said something to my brother or to me before he gets onto an event, right before nationals, right before, sectionals competition. And, they were very receptive to what I was sharing with them. And I think it's important whether you are a coach from diverse backgrounds or just a coach that's an ally or a supporter. I think it's important to understand that the journey can be very different, and that sometimes you have to lean on your families in different ways, lean on your community in different ways, especially because there's not really much of a community in figure skating for people of color. It's really hard to find people that look like you that may be interested in performing to a different type of music, or just making those connections, the financial barriers. So I think it's really important to not only have that sort of system of people that can understand that, but also it's incredibly important to have coaches that will look and reflect the community of a diverse country. And I can say that, having coached so many kids from diverse backgrounds, and even the rest of my team's diverse eyes, Roheen as well, Denise, we're seeing so many of these kids come up through the sport, and they feel empowered. They feel that they can, speak to the issues that they're going through a little bit more simplicity, because they've already been in that spot. So I think it's important to not only have that coaching team that, you know, may look like you, but also that just have someone that can also speak to understanding what this could look like.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's so important. There are a couple of things I wanted to talk with you about. So you talked a lot about, you know, and I know that we're at the Lincoln Theater and it's historically in a prominent space in the African American community. But when we talk about diversity from a range of perspectives. And so that looks like age, gender identity, gender, that looks like sexuality. And one of the things, you know, as you can see from the panelist selection, figure skating is a female-dominated sport. And so I'm wondering if maybe Alex and Joel, you all can maybe speak about, you know, what are some of the things that you as figure skating or the community can be doing to encourage more young boys to be in the sport? I know that there's this perspective maybe that they don't belong here for whatever reason. And so I'm just wondering if you could just speak about and speak to your experiences briefly before we move forward.
Well, just going back to you know, the book that I wrote and my story and journey, I remember starting skating around 14 years old, and you know, sharing with my classmates, you know, just sort of like a icebreaker where we had to share what we do for fun. And I remember, you know, my friend said next to me, "Oh yeah, I like to play basketball." The other friends, "I like to play football," and I was like, "I like to play." So you say play figure skating? Do you say ice? Like, it was just really weird. But I said I like to play figure skating. And then I remember a classmate behind me said, "Black people don't ice skate." And then someone else said, "Figure skating is for girls." And I just felt crushed. I did not want to share anything about skating to any of my friends. And these were people that looked like me. So it's even harder to, you know, swallow that pill because, like, who do you talk to? So for me, for a long time, figure skating was like my secret activity that I did after school. You know, I would tell them I'm going to like play basketball, but really I was like running off to the ice rink and training. So I think, again, that representation is so important. You know, I looked up to people like Derek Delmore and Roheen Ward, who's, you know, doing quads and boat directions. I'm like, wow, this is incredible. And, you know, as I felt I was getting better and being able to see those role models like do their work in such an incredible way, it was empowering for me that I was able to go out there and share my story that, yeah, I love ice skating. Ice skating is cool. And now on my journey now in Diversify Ice, you know, it is really important for us to not just make the sport accessible, but also to make it interesting and fun and cool, and change the perception that, you know, people of color could only do basketball and football. And, you know, we're also really great at figure skating. Of course, there are a lot of barriers that we have to overcome as well, but I think this is the important journey that we have to, you know, make it representation clear for us so that we can all be a part of it.
Right.
Sorry, Alex. Joe, something that came to mind when you said that, I thought about when you was like, I pretend to go to basketball practice instead of, so one reason why I have 20 kids that are pursuing both sports is my hockey boys. I'm like, you know, you'd be a better hockey player if you went to figure skating,
Yep.
right? I'm like, if you just take some private figure skating lessons and then they start doing, and they're like, oh my gosh, mommy, I want to pursue figure skating too. So super cool.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to just chime in. You know, I think that, you know, Joel, you bring such a valuable insight, because I think what I hear is there's been a tradition, and not just in skating, but in general, of a construct of toxic masculinity in a way, right? And so, and there's many constructs, I think, throughout our culture, many cultures, and it's just part of life. But what we try to do is we kind of try to break it apart a little bit, free it up. You know, for myself, I mean, it's interesting. I grew up in the 80s, so at the time, it wasn't as Asian dominant, at least in California. You know, it's a very different space now. Like in Irvine, California, where Nathan Chen was training, I see all these little Asian boys becoming the next Nathan Chen. It's lots of them. So representation does make a difference. We know that, right? But I think at the same time, there's this thing about, you know, no matter how we slice it, there's going to be obstacles. And I think that the one thing that skating has kind of taught all of us is just that, you know, how to, it's not just self-mastery, but how to be unmessable with. Like, it's going to happen. So, but what you can get out of skating is that you will learn how to however they want to attack me with the fireball attack or the ice attack or the lightning attack, I'm going to be unmessable with. So it doesn't matter how that construct came about that day. I'm going to do me. I'm just going to do me. Those that like what I do will appreciate it. Those that hate, then they can also, learn to actually secretly, they may actually secretly love it. But you're right, with boys, there is a certain toxic masculinity problem that I think has been pervasive in all parts of our culture. That we want to teach our young, boys or become men to be considerate and sensitive and intelligent and respectful and strong and protective. And so those are the kind of things that don't have to be defined by a toxic masculine, like boys look like this. It doesn't have to be that, unless we allow that to only be the only form. And so I think that that's what I want to kind of, just to kind of pull the lens back a little bit on that, because it has, and the needle does move slowly, but it has moved. And when people do see that, hey, I can be that person, sure, but they don't have to always be exactly like that person, as long as they can identify with that person. They can feel that they belong in that space, that they identify in that way, whether it's like, it's a nerd and I'm a nerd, right? That could be in a way, there's so many different ways that people can identify, but they need to feel that there's a connection there. And I think that's what draws people into our sport.
Absolutely.
Yeah, please clap, please. Yes. I told you they're awesome, right? I mean, honestly, thank you both for sharing that. I mean, and as your perspective in terms of gender, we also know that, as we're starting to get more diverse in our country, we also see that there's more diversity in gender expansion. And so creating a space, our sport is so gendered. And so really considering, what does it look like for the future of figure skating to really be thoughtful about how do we create a space for everyone, no matter how they identify, to show up and feel and know that they belong. So I think that you all spoke beautifully to that. The other thing that you mentioned, and this is a great transition to Sherry, who is the only judge on the panel today, is, you talked about this idea that representation matters. And so I think, Sherry, you definitely should be able to, sort of speak to that. But also this idea, Joel, in terms of, when you want to make the sport more inclusive, that also looks like bringing in different music, different choreography, and are our judges ready to judge different music and choreography, given that there's this idea of, what a figure skater should look like, what music a figure skater should be skating to. And so I'd love to hear from you about, what does it mean to be a judge at U.S. Figure Skating, to be a judge of color, and what are some of the things that you feel like we are doing well to diversify judges? And then I have a second question for you after that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Kadari. I'm so privileged and thankful to be on the panel. I grew up skating in the mid to late 90s, early 2000s, so it was very, very exclusive. I never was able to sit and do a test session or a competition and ever see anyone who remotely looked anything like me when I was out there on the ice. So it was always kind of a bit of a magnifying glass effect of feeling like you're the oddity and the oddball out. So overcoming that was an extreme challenge along the way. And I found my voice and confidence in synchronized skating. Because even though I may be the one skater that looks a little bit different than everyone else, at least I have my sisters and other skaters around me to keep me company and help me build my confidence and have that empowerment. Through synchronized skating, my coach actually encouraged me to start trial judging because she saw I had a very analytical eye. Like, we stopped winning medals, and I had my dad film our entire flight of skaters that we competed against. I'm like, I need to know what we need to add to our program so that we could get those gold and silver medals again. So I didn't know I was showing hints of being like a TS or judge at the time, but I had a very analytical eye, and I was encouraged to start the trial judging process. And that was very exclusionary also. A lot of officials by nature are encouraged by way of being former champions and former elite skaters. And my biggest pride is I did get a bronze medal at Synchro Nationals in 2001 in Lake Placid in the collegiate division. But I also was the silver medalist, thank you, silver medalist at Intercollegiate Nationals in 2002 doing the good old Hickory Hoedown. So I don't have any Olympic medals or world titles behind my name, but I did have a passion to really study and learn the inner workings of the sport and giving back. Because a lot of people don't know, but officials are not paid. We're one of the few sports where there's no compensation for what we do. So when you see those judges for hours on your panels at test sessions and competitions, we're doing it out of the love for the sport. There have been challenges, but I do love when I'm able to give back when there are skaters of color and different skaters, because they see someone out there that looks different that they can hopefully resonate with. And I pride myself in being, I believe, the first African American woman to obtain an international data operator appointment as well, so I'm able to officiate internationally. There are definitely challenges along the way. There are some officials who are still a little bit leery to opening the door to people who don't have those accolades of high-level skating experience, but I feel like by being in the room and showing them that we are able to do it, we are making, progress in the right direction. So, yeah.
Thank you, Sherry, and thank you for sharing those accolades. I didn't even know that, so
sorry.
amazing, amazing. One of the things that I think is important, and I'm so happy Juliet Newcomer is here. Don't look shy, Juliet. That's one of my colleagues, and Kelly Votner too, in our Department of Sport Development and Strategy, is that we're really working to think through how do we educate our officials, particularly in the lens of bias, right? So unlike, maybe other sports, figure skating is a judge sport, right? So you're being judged, and you all please correct me, my figure skating people, but you're being judged on a lot of different things, but some of it's artistic and then some of it is technical. And so with the artistic part, I think it's really important for our judges to recognize that bias is something that we all have. And so I'm really proud to share that we have developed a course for all of our members to take around diversity, equity, and inclusion, but specifically our judges, so that they understand that when they get on the panel and they see someone that they don't maybe have not seen before, or they hear music that they haven't heard before, that this is still figure skating and that they need to be judging the technical aspect of the skating. And so I'm just wondering, from your perspective, how does bias, for people who don't know how judging works in figure skating, how do you think bias may impact figure skating judges, and how can we do better with that?
Yeah, bias is something that we all have. We have name recognition. When we go into the room, we try to be clear of any preconceived notions, but when you know a name of someone who has achieved great achievements, like getting ready to go in the championship men's event, we know Ilya and the quad axel, we know certain things, but you have to really zoom out and pay attention to what is happening the day of the event. Just like we saw in the women's free skate, things happen, things change, and even though you had a thought in your mind of what you expected to happen, you have to judge what happens the day of the event. When it comes to different programs and creativity, I think having a diverse panel definitely helps with that, because we're able to appreciate different nuances. Like, skating has always been like a classical sport with classical music, and when someone comes out there and takes a different take on a program, you can really appreciate that and show that in reflection of your marks. Because it's just showing that the skater is really being able to embody the character of the music, whether it's something that you identify with or like, individually. It's just really showing whether or not they're able to emulate the character and present it throughout the entire program. So I think, when judging, some people are still, we have our preferences, we know what we like, but I think by having a diverse panel, we're able to show appreciation in different ways.
Right.
So,
Can I just jump in on that too? And I really appreciate that perspective as well, because I remember just my brother and myself, we were thinking about at one point, what music do we choose for the season? And, just thinking about what the judges will even be accepting of. What could they truly understand about certain types of music choices that we may love and dance to? And would that be something that they would judge us harshly for, artistically? And what I love now, when I think about some of the amazing choreographers like Roheen Ward, for example, he has such an amazing eye. He is able to tune into your artistic abilities and pick out the best music choices for you, and a wide spectrum of music, right? It's not just the cookie cutter, same old thing that people are typically listening to, the Swan Lakes every year. You're seeing something unique and different, and I think we're seeing maybe with the new judging system, but also I think with the diversity of skating that's kind of growing up, we're seeing more diversity in music, more diversity in choreography, And it's really a beautiful thing to see. So I'm hoping that we're going to continue to push the envelope. And I think, choreographers like Roheen and so many others that are really pushing the envelope is going to really push the sport into a positive direction.
Yeah, can I just, yeah, I was going to say, I had a conversation with Raheen, who was an amazing choreographer and coach in person, just a beautiful person. And we were talking about cultural appropriation and the difference between cultural appropriation and appreciation, when this idea that we really want to have diverse music and diversity in terms of choreography in the space, but how do we do it in a way that is respectful and not appropriative? And so the one thing that he said to me that was really like, yeah, he said, you know what, everyone has the right to move to any type of music, and that's the beauty of music, which was so special. And yet at the same time, you need to be very thoughtful about where you're pulling that from. Did you do the research? Have you been considerate about if you're actually owning it as your own? And so I just want to say thank you for that perspective, because it's so important. It's so important. And it's something that our community, I think, should take on and really understand that we can involve ourselves and think about diversity, but we have to do it in a way that's respectful. And then Alex, yeah.
I kind of want to just add to that. And Roheen I love you, Roheen. You're so amazing and talented, and you come from the heart. And I really think that you work with and through each skater. You take the time to really understand them, like human first. And I think that's what makes a great program, and makes it, and so you're right. Like, everybody should be able to have access to any kind of music, any kind of style, but they also have the onus and responsibility to do the research. And it's also a point of exploration and curiosity, I think, for a lot of kids, that like they may not have had that moment to understand what that was, or understand the history that led to that, or the how the different styles or genres of music, where they intersect, where they've been interpreted. And music is always evolving. Culture is evolving. Dance is evolving. Mm-hmm. You're seeing different kinds of fusion and style, and that's what makes it so exciting and dynamic. And I think that's where, if we can actually have them like spark that curiosity, but they have to do it like as a judge. And I think for judges too, like it's always changing. Tastes change, panels change. What's appropriate on TV one generation is completely different than it is in the next, right? So it's a living, breathing kind of culture. And I think that's where I feel that, with coaches and choreographers and parents too, like creating a safe space for young people or adult skaters too, anybody who wants to kind of reinvent themselves, experiment, learn another culture. There's no better way than to learn it by taking a dance class or a history class or something else to understand, to get into the skin of somebody else or their shoes, to understand what that was like, what caused that emotion and movement, to really understand it. And that's what I think the best performances come from.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm sorry, I have to move
Okay.
on.
So speaking of the next, of trailblazers and also of the next generation, I'm so happy to have Maya James on the stage with us from Howard University. So Maya, first of all, congratulations on your historic achievement of becoming U.S. figure skating's first HBCU partnership and first HBCU to have a collegiate figure skating team. Thank you. Wait, can I get an HU? You know. All right, so, I have to just say this. So I also went to HU. I went to Hampton, so I tried to get Hampton on board first, but Howard, y'all, I love Howard. Y'all are my people as well. And I'm just so happy that, honestly, when I first started this role, it was a benchmark for me to meet to establish a HBCU collegiate team, and we have it. So thank you for the manifestation from me personally, and also just for the work that you're doing in the community, bringing the work of, or the figure skating world to HBCUs. And I know you are a co-founder with Cheyenne. Cheyenne, go ahead and just, you wave. Yeah. So I just want to give you all's flowers, because you deserve them. So can you just share with me a little bit about, why you all wanted to start a figure skating team at Historically Black College and University, and what are you hoping to achieve this year?
Honestly, thank you for that question. But honestly, I think that starting or censoring figure skating at an HBCU campus is extremely important, of course, for diversity and inclusion, but really representation, honestly, for those little Black girls and boys out there that want to continue skating in college or start skating in college, honestly. When we first started this organization, it was kind of eye-opening to me how much bigger this was than just me or even Howard. We even had like a little girl in our Instagram page DM us saying how excited she was to go to Howard or HBCU to continue figure skating. And I just think that's super important because one of the reasons or one of the deciding factors for going to college was either going to a HBCU or going to a school that had figure skating already. So I'm kind of happy that we can close that gap. And yeah, I hope to accomplish in the future is have more diverse institutions or HBCUs have a figure skating team. So
And it will definitely happen,
Yeah.
for sure. No, I wonder if you could just kind of maybe think through when your skaters this weekend at championships were able to just connect with a couple of other organizations. We have figure skating in Detroit here and Dream Detroit as well, and just all of us have been able. Yeah, just to connect and to be able to see that pipeline and figure skating in Harlem, being able to see that pipeline from, okay, I'm just starting to skate and now like, oh, I could go to college and skate and I don't have to choose between what I think is important in terms of culture, but also what I love to do, which is be on the ice. So I'm just wondering if you could just speak a little bit about how your kids reacted to seeing Howard, because I think they were excited.
My kids are excited to see all of the groups that were actually represented. It's really inspirational. Like I knew that if I can get kids to an elite level, I had diversified ice. I'm like, here, Joel, here's the pass off, right? But outside of like those technical skaters, this reality that even my own daughter, who's a figure skater, I'm like, Amai, you can also go to Howard and pursue figure skating if that's something that you want to do. But just being able to connect with all of the groups. At our booth, we did a little game where there was a spin wheel and you had to do off-ice moves. And to be able to see Dream Detroit, the Howard University team come in, figure skating in Detroit and figure skating in Harlem. Everyone came to the booth, and if they landed on axel or shoot the duck, I learned shoot the duck this week, shoot the duck, that they were able to demonstrate that. And, you know, I'm realizing how much of a needle is being pushed, because maybe even last year or the year before, it would have been maybe someone that wasn't a person of color doing the example, showing my kids how to do it. But I'm like, we're having this whole, like everyone there was someone of color showing the moves, doing the moves, and having a good time. So it's incredible.
Thank you. And I'm going to move forward so I make sure I'm keeping my timer, it doesn't go off on us. So Maya, your co-founder Cheyenne was involved with figure skating in Harlem.
Yes.
And so Ela, you're here representing figure skating in Harlem. So welcome. Thank you. And so thank you for being here on behalf of Sharon. We really appreciate that. So Ela, figure skating in Harlem was established in 1997. And I understand that your mission is to help girls transform their lives and grow in confidence, leadership, and academic achievement. So at US Figure Skating, we understand that we're building champions on and off the ice. And so you all are really focused on the off the ice. I mean, you're focused on the ice. Yeah. I love that you're focusing off the ice and building that leadership. So can you talk about, like, what are the things that maybe you've experienced from being in that program? I know you're an alum, and also what the girls are learning to build characteristics off the ice, because I think that's equally important.
Yeah, of course. Well, I'd like to start by thanking you for having me here. I'm excited to be here today. And shout out to Cheyenne, my fellow alum. So at Figure Skating in Harlem, I mean, the program was birthed out of the dreams of community organizers and students in Harlem that wanted to learn how to skate and saw a gap in the opportunities and activities that were offered to them. So as our program evolved with time, the scope of the opportunities that we're able to offer to our students evolved. So like you mentioned earlier, the foundational skills that you learn through figure skating that are applicable to life is really what we focus on. And we use figure skating as a vehicle to drive the work that we do, but also really push the imagination of our students to believe in themselves in a bigger way and to aspire to do different things. I think figure skating in its history has looked very different. And so just us being from the grassroots level, building up the diversity that is seen within the sport, and then taking our students just off of the ice to really develop them as people, as students, as world changers and international liaisons for figure skating, and just advocacy as we've traveled to South Africa this past summer. That's really what the program is about. Personally, I didn't know anything about figure skating. I'm a girl from Harlem. Like, we do basketball. I mean, I know about, but I'm not athletic. So figure skating is a really great sport for me.
Figure skatings are the most athletic people. Yes,
I mean,
yes.
it's an extremely athletic sport. I have 2 left feet though, so the ice
okay.
really helps me.
Choreography, gotcha.
Yes, exactly. And so I knew nothing about figure skating before I was introduced to figure skating in Harlem through one of our parents that are over there. And at the age of 6, I joined the program, and I was able to grow on the ice and then matriculate into a more elite level as I graduated through high school and went off to college. But at FSH, we really focus on creating holistic people. And some of our students that are in the audience today went on that trip to South Africa. And although we brought the sport of figure skating, they brought their whole selves, and they brought the learning that they have and the foundational skills that we've instilled in them at the program, and shared that with the kids that we worked with while we were over there. So as I'm just a living testimony of what the program is, as well as Cheyenne and our girls here, the students back at Harlem continue to keep the legacy going of girls from Harlem doing big things and taking it outside of just the rink and on into their own personal journeys.
Yeah, I love that so much, and it speaks to me so deeply, because when I first started this role, it was important for me to think about what it is that I wanted sort of my vision and legacy to be here. And I know that when I was first hired, I think there was this perspective that, okay, we're just going to get more athletes that are diverse on the ice. And that's exactly what we've been trying to do. But it was equally important for me to make sure that we were diversifying figure skating 360, right? So that looks like our staff. That looks like the judges, the officials. That looks like the coaches. That looks like the people who are doing hair and makeup. That looks like the people who are designing the figure skating, that costume. It's everybody, right? What does it look like to actually be more representative of the world that we live in? And so speaking of, continuing that idea that you can build diversity off the ice, Chantel is our guest from Disney on Ice from Felt Entertainment. And so we're so happy that you are here. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And so we talked a little bit earlier about the diversity and sort of the pathway, but I'm wondering if you could speak to the audience a little bit about what diversity, equity, and inclusion, or specifically diversity and equity, look like through casting for the characters that you all know so well from Disney, and how does that help strengthen, these different pathways that our skaters can go through?
Yeah, so I think for us, our cast has always been culturally diverse. We have a very strong representation of skaters from the US and Canada, but also from Japan, parts of South America, specifically Brazil, Argentina, Chile, Mexico is well represented, Australia, the UK, parts of Europe, mostly a lot from Scandinavia. So although we've always been very culturally diverse, I would say if you come and see our shows and you look at the skaters, you probably don't notice it in the appearance. And I think there's 2 major contributing factors to that. One is the candidate pool. Like, we can't hire skaters that don't exist. And secondly, that, we are a licensee of the Disney company, so we're putting those beloved Disney characters out onto the ice. So we have to go by how they appear. And until very recently, the appearance of Disney characters has also been very similar. And now in the last few years, with the release of some new Disney movies and characters, we are finding that we're now able to employ a more diverse appearing cast of skaters. And then another aspect of Disney on Ice that's owned by Feld Entertainment, we very much promote from within. So within our company, there's a lot of different pathways you can take. I'm a great example of that. Started as a skater. Within Disney on Ice, I was a performance director, then a tour manager. Then I started my own family. That's what took me over to Ringling Brothers. And then I found my way back to Disney on Ice. But if you look throughout our company, our corporate offices, it's made up of people who joined the company as skaters or crew. And then part of what I'm trying to do in my role is to educate coaches and skaters about not just Disney on Ice, but the opportunity that ice shows can offer. We see so many skaters who, they put so much time and effort and money into the sport, and then perhaps competing is not for them. It's not for everyone. And so they lose interest, or they can no longer afford to stay in it, and to just walk away from all of that they've invested, something that they enjoy to do. There are these other pathways like ice shows that just can open up your eyes in the world to so much more, and for the coaches to be able to keep more kids in skating. So I'd like to, for coaches to know what the opportunities are as well for their students, that if they're not excelling in competition, that there is this other direction.
I just want to jump in as well, because some of you may know I was also a skater on Disney on Ice as well, on D20. So it's a really amazing show. It's like the 100 years celebration. And for me, joining that experience was remarkable. I got to travel the world. It's an amazing experience. I also think you're exactly right. Of course, you can't create positions that's not reflective. There's no characters that's reflected for those positions. So at the time when I was skating, there were no princes and princesses that were of color on Disney Channel. It didn't exist. So when I came into Disney, there really wasn't a role for me to have a senior role in my show. So I was very fortunate. They did create a sort of African step out for me, which was kind of cool. I got to do a little bit of dancing. But I'm really excited now that there's so many more characters available for them to have these more diverse shows. I'm just really happy what Disney's doing right now.
And I think it's so appropriate that we sort of end it here before I ask the panelists our last question, just about this idea of performance, especially being at the Lincoln Theater, and just this idea of being able to express yourself in the different ways and to continue your skating journey way after you finish competitive skating and you want to go back and you want to work for Disney on Ice, or you want to come and you want to run the lights for U.S. Figure Skating Championships or work for U.S. Figure Skating. So I think it's full circle. And so my last question for all the panelists, we just popcorn whoever wants to go first, just so I can get some audience questions, is what is your aspiration for the future of figure skating? What do you all hope to see? What do you all hope that U.S. Figure Skating is able to partner with you all to do? Please share with us in the audience.
Wow, okay. I have a premature thought on that. A few things came to my mind, and it kind of touches on what I wanted to mention last time. So this was my second nationals. I brought 22. There were 22 of us that came in from LA. Last year was our first at San Jose, and there was a big difference in how nationals felt this year. I mean, I sat in the concourse most of it at our booth, but from the music, from programs, I was like, oh my gosh, all this Prince and Michael Jackson, all of this music. I'm
Beyonce.
And Beyonce, right, yes. And even in between competitions, is that what it's called, competitions? what are they called?
Events.
Events. Okay, thank you. Even in between the events, the music just playing in the arena, I was like, this is somewhere I'm supposed to be. And I mean, we're having a ball just being in the space. And I didn't feel like that in San Jose. It was great music, but it didn't feel like just vast and wide. And then when I was able to come into the events, just to see all of the groups being shot out, people dancing on the Jumbotron. I feel like I was at an LA Kings game, you know, and you know, I had a training with my kids before we came. I'm like, listen, don't shout, don't scream, don't talk, you know, because San Jose, it was like our first introduction, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm that mom that's like, oh, mom, right? And so when I went to San Jose, I was like, wait, no one's screaming? We're not screaming? Stop! You know, all of the things. And so I was like, please don't do it. And then I had our kids quiet for championships pair yesterday. And then I heard someone screaming from the other side. And I was like, oh my gosh, let's scream, you know. But I think that what U.S. figure skating is doing right from a spectator's perspective is it feels good. If the music the environment feels good. It felt like, look at all of this. And I just can't wait to see how the community of U.S. figure skating grows over the years to come. And so in terms of what it can do for organizations like mine, continue to create spaces that make us feel like we're supposed to be there for real. And I think that this year's national, for me and my group, was a testament to that. And next year, I'm bringing a bell. You know, I'm kidding. I'm not. I don't think that your fans are ready for all that. But I'm just saying that. I'm just saying, like, I mean, you know, culturally, we're expressive. And I want to be able to, you know, to be like, yes, you did that. And have permission to be able to do that and celebrate all your athletes in the space. So thank you.
I'll just say, as diversified as we always say, the future of figure skating is colorful. And I definitely see that coming into fruition now. And it's with great thanks to all of you here. All of you, I've been engaged with you in some way, whether it's, you know, at our skate raiser in California, or even working with the collegiate team, and, you know, just so many of the team here. But it's like a reunion coming to nationals now. Because we come here and we're just like, you know, it just feels like a family. We're able to celebrate and cheer each other on, cheer on our favorite skaters, and it just feels good to be able to say, okay, I'm not here alone, I'm not the only one, and everyone's kind of pushing this focus of diversity further in their own respective ways, and it's important. Like, it's us working together is going to create this 360-degree change, and it's a beautiful thing. So I really believe the future of figure skating is going to be even more colorful in the years to come.
And loud. Thank you.
And loud.
Very cool.
I'd like to just quickly say also, from an official standpoint, if you have a passion and want to get involved, there's other opportunities outside of just judging and technical specialists. We have accountants, we have announcers, we have the music team. We also, you know, there's the referees. There's a huge team that makes these events possible. So if you want to get involved and you might not have the technical knowledge, but you have the passion, find a way to get involved and volunteer, because that's the best way to see it continue to grow and be more colorful, is by being a part of the team that makes it happen.
Okay, I guess I'll go next. I guess what I wanted to talk about was a little bit about accessibility and pipeline as far as with the future, because I think we talk about accessibility, and yeah, first touch point, great, I think we all get it, but we're not done yet. We can do better, because it's accessibility at every juncture up this kind of the tree, right? And then we have other programs, but to get here, I mean, we have Olympic medalists in this room right here, and that's such a very rare opportunity, but the struggle that each family makes to get there, I mean, it's really quite incredible. And so I think it's kind of just trying, the vision would be to have a pathway of accessibility at all levels, whatever that may be for each individual that comes through the doors. Sometimes it may be for a show, Maybe it's Olympics. Maybe it's synchronized skating. It's theater on ice. It could be an official, music, anything that would be appropriate. But I think it takes a lot of resources and intentionality to create that. I think in the meantime, we can kind of hopefully dispel some of the bias that is, and the limitations that we have. But on top of that, we have to keep growing the sport, keep growing those resources, sharing them, collaborating, so that we can have real accessibility all the way up the pipeline. That's it.
I think what I want to emphasize is that you can start skating at any age. You can start a passion at any age. Like, it's never too late. We have a Learn to Skate portion, a part of our organization, and it's just amazing to see how many people are picking up skills so quickly and from the bare minimum, from the bare start. So I just want to emphasize that you can start anything at any age. It doesn't matter. You put on figure skates, you're a figure skater. So, yeah.
I think just piggybacking on a couple of those last comments is skating's fun, right? It doesn't have to be so serious all the time. There is that route. And it is, there's the focus, and definitely to be a high-end athlete, you need all of that. But it's also, at the end of the day, it's fun, and it's a way to express yourself, and it's not just about being the best, and it's not just about pretty skating. It's athletic, and it's fun. And that goes from figure skating to hockey and freestyle skating. I feel hasn't really taken off here yet. That's a whole other dimension of skating. And we now hire freestyle skaters with Disney on Ice and teach them to jump ramps. And it just brings another dimension to our performances as well. It's not just figure skating. It's all different kinds of skating.
I think that I hope for the future of figure skating to continue to inspire people, specifically our young people, like Maya and Cheyenne, like your daughter, like our students when they saw Disney on Ice, to continue to take big steps and dream big. That's what really pushes the needle and continues to diversify the sport from on the ice and off the ice. And open the doors for us in different ways. So I hope that the future of figure skating reflects those big steps and big chances that we take.
And I'm going to wrap it up with my hope, and it starts with what my hope was when I got started here, which was to create a community where we humanize each other on and off the ice, right? In every iteration that we are connected with each other, that we see each other, that we acknowledge each other as skaters, as coaches, as officials, as Olympians, as people who do adaptive skating, as collegiate skaters, as people who love this sport and don't know about this sport. I just hope that we continue to humanize each other and grow the community, as Kendall mentioned. So with that being said, I really want to give our panelists a round of applause. Thank you all so much. I'm so grateful. I want to give you all a round of applause, please. Thank you for being here. And I'm looking at the time, it's 1:49, so my timer did go off about 2 minutes ago. So we're a little bit over time, but if there's any questions that people are really pressing to ask, I would love to open it up for about 5 minutes, if that's okay, and answer that. So I see one here, and then Curtis, I see you in the front. So the question for people who maybe not have heard it is, what happens to all the stuffed animals after the performances? So for people who haven't been to US Figure Skating Championships yet, please come out tonight. We have our final day, but they're called tossies. I learned about, see, I wasn't skating, but I'm learning. So they're called tossies, and so after every performance, people will buy these stuffed animals and they'll throw them on the ice for, to say, great job. So after the performances, the athletes take them as much as they want, and then the other ones we will donate to families in need. Thank you, great question though, because I think it's something that people just, we take for granted. Curtis, thank you for being here.
I was at San Jose last year also, and I ended up sitting behind your group. And when you all came in, I thought, oh my gosh, how's this going to turn out? And frankly, I was so excited to see you all, and all the kids had such excitement, and they were so happy to be there, and it really made me feel good. And I've been to probably 20 or 30 nationals, and for them to see their first nationals, it really brought a joy to my heart.
I'm a little unorthodox, so I'm gonna come give you a hug.
It was wonderful, really.
That is what it is all about. Any other questions before we go? Yes, one in the front.
So this was touched on, but I think you all brought up a good point about how do you behave as an audience member. And when we talk about breaking down barriers or allowing folks to prepare to come, this is their first time. This was our first time being here particularly.
I think for me, that was something that I definitely had to think through after San Jose, because a lot of the groups that I invited in were shushed. And quite frankly, it was embarrassing, right? And because at the end of the day, we're inviting community to come see our community, and it needs to feel welcoming. At the same time, there is an idea of like when you're a skater, and you're getting ready to start, you do want to be in a certain mindset. So there's this idea of that, yes, we do want it to be quiet, right, when they first start, so that they can focus. But I would tell you what, I believe that our athletes want our audience to cheer. They are athletes, and they want people to show up for them. So the moral of the story for me is that there is no etiquette except for you are going to go have fun, and that you should be enjoying skating. And I'm sorry that that was your experience, and we hope that it won't happen again, and we will make sure that it doesn't by making sure that they know that the etiquette is that skating is for everyone to watch and to enjoy, and no shushing is going to be allowed. So when you come tonight, please be as loud as you want, as obviously when the athletes are performing, and just show up as your authentic self, because that is what skating should be about. So that's how I feel, and I think I could speak on behalf of US Figure Skating to say the same thing, is that you're here to be a fan, and fans are loud and turned up. So like, that's what you're supposed to be doing here. I don't know, that's, okay, all right. Yeah, amazing. Okay, one more question and I think we'll wrap it up. Hi.
I'm 11 years old. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. I'm a diversified ice skater. So my question is, how can I better advocate for the sport when there are not a lot of financial resources to share? One of the biggest barriers to pursuing ice skating long term is the cost of participating.
Thank you. Tell me your name one more time. Joya. Joya, thank you so much for your question and for being here. So the question was about financial support. I know that I can finish the conversation from what we're trying to do, but I definitely want to give you all the opportunity about what you've experienced and what you're doing to partner to make figure skating more accessible. Joel, can I start with you since she's one of your skaters?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for your question, and I totally get it. Figure skating is incredibly expensive, and a lot of times people are priced out of the sport. I know I felt priced out coming into the sport. That's why when we founded Diversified Foundation, we created a number of sponsorship packages to help skaters through the sport from the learn to skate level, but particularly at the competitive levels. So, we're happy to engage with you as you start to compete as well. But there's also resources at US Figure Skating, such as the Mabel Fairbanks Skating Allures Award that you probably saw was awarded last night, which is so amazing. And I know there's many other pathways through many of these other programs here, but we'd love to just hear from you about what's needed. But we totally understand how expensive this sport is, and that's why we're trying to close the gap, bridge the gap to make it more accessible. So definitely reach out to Diversify Ice as well.
Okay, Kendall, I know you wanted to.
Sorry, I was just having this conversation. I don't know if Susie is here or not, but she's been trying to encourage me to start a club. So that I can transition my kids from learn to skate into full membership with US Figure Skating. And I am concerned about what happens then
right? So I'm like, how do I take 95 kids and put them into full membership? And then what are the new barriers there waiting for us that I wasn't anticipating because I didn't grow up in the sport? And how do I, as a mom, try to find money for Maya to skate, and then now the responsibility of 94 other kids that are waiting for me to solve it and their families as well. And so it is challenging, and I'm like comfortably sitting in Learn to Skate USA, and I only have 4 kids with full membership, and I'm just really nervous about what happens when that transition happens. So yeah.
I'm going to kind of jump into here, not because I have an answer, but I think that it's an area that we're all, from a facility perspective, from community perspective, from what I call affinity groups, from the association, we're all trying to handle this question or this issue, and it is about accessibility through the lens of DEI, but through that and not only through DEI as well, right? It's like it's accessibility in general, and I know that for programming, like for our facilities, we're trying to do from Learn to Skate going into Academy/Aspire programs that are actually higher level, so that you can supplement some of the training to keep the cost down, or relative not. It's going to be cost, but it's going to cost in some level. And the interesting thing is that even from like a facility perspective or an association perspective, there are certain areas that you can control, but if coaches actually it's their own business. So when they're taking students or choosing to help students, right, it is on them. So I think it's a shift that has to be kind of borne on the shoulders of everybody, not just from an affinity group or a community, not just from a facility, not just from the association, not just from individual coaches, but like everybody collectively together has to kind of support that vision. And not to say that it always is going to show up a certain way. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't have an answer. But I do know that there's like programming changes that are in place in many places around the country where they are trying to make it more accessible through group instruction and group classes at a higher level. Because in other countries that have been very successful, group instruction is very effective on elite level as well. So you have a mixture of this happening. So some of what we previously thought like it must be this way, no longer. How you teach this job, no longer the same way. It's constantly changing. We're changing business models, we're changing training models, we're changing athlete development models. So I think that all of this may change. So I'm just saying, don't give up. Like, stay in it. Everything is figure-outable somehow. It really is. So that's it.
I love that, and you're right, and everything is figure-outable, and it is one of my jobs to do that as the director of DEI. So, my goal is to start to figure out how do we partner with organizations and people who are philanthropists. How do we partner with organizations like Kendall's partnership with like the Kings and Toyota? Like, how do we find people who are equally passionate about what we're trying to do, and they feel like their mission is aligned, so that we can come together and build those financial resources. So it is figure-outable, and it is our job to figure it out. So we will take on that responsibility so that you can focus on skating and doing the thing that you love best, right? On and being an amazing person on and off the ice. So I know that we are way past time, and I apologize for that, but I do appreciate you all for staying and being engaged with our panelists. And again, I just want to say thank you to U.S. Figure Skating, Greater Columbus Sports, the Lincoln Theater, to you all. Thank you for our Olympians for being here. It's just been an amazing event, and I hope that we can stay after and have conversations.